this stuff, and you assessing the threats to early recovery and doing those interventions when necessary, those kinds of things like that. Again, being the good drug counselor. These understanding, and as we left last time, some of those issues, those arousal levels. Hey, cognitive dissonance stuff. These basic hypochondriasis, which is so often missed with the MESA client or with the AOD client. Agoraphobia, which is so often missed with the AOD client, and some of those kinds of things. So I want to make sure that we are good with this stuff. Make sure you've got this. Everybody, is everybody signed in? Everybody here signed in? Cool. Make sure you get yourself signed in today. Let's go over this. From class discussion, schizophrenia is a what? Which one of those? Organic. It's a disease. We're not going to sing kumbaya, hug, happy talk somebody out of this. They're going to need the best we have with medicine. Boy, do we have a long ways to go with that, but at least the best we've got. From class, borderline personality disorder would be identified as a what? Functional disorder. Functional. Remember this idea, those personality disorders, for example, that, again, well, everything's a brain thing to start with. We even had that on the brain side a teeny bit. If you unplug the brain, the lights go out. But again, those functional disorders, they're learned in, they're acquired. Whatever the problem is today, it's there because it served a purpose. It had a function. That kind of a thing. The personality disorders, how that person has learned how to feel safe and what feels like a very unsafe place in their life. Does that make sense? And again, on the surface, what is this doing for them? How is this helping them in any way? I know, on the surface, it looks like they're paying an enormous price for this. Their whole life is a mess with some of this stuff. Interpersonal relationships and things like that, a complete mess. But somehow or another, it's feeling safe for that person. Does that make sense? That kind of a thing. Hey, of the following, the best definition of hallucination is what?
False perception.
False perception. In other words, hearing stuff, seeing stuff, smelling stuff, feeling stuff, this and that and stuff. That's not there. That's not there. Hey, by the way, what is the most common? What's the most common hallucination in schizophrenia?
Auditory.
Hearing the voices. Hearing the voices. Auditory. The hearing the voices. Hey, quick quizzes. Hey, what's the most common kind of schizophrenia?
Paranoid.
Paranoid schizophrenia. And fortunately, that's the most treatable also. And again, it's not like it's a fun day, but at least it's better than some of the other stuff. Of the following, number 4, which would best represent a delusion? A, B, C, or D?
C.
C. Everybody see that? Does everybody see that? Everybody cool? Questions with any of these? As we go down this, are there any questions?
I just like how it says Satin instead of Satan.
Does it say Satin?
And I just picture these like hooded people from the satin industry.
You're right. I
like,
did. I did a typo there. Thank you. Thank you for catching that. I didn't even know. I didn't even notice that one. Thank you. Yes.
I did realize, as you said, which are the following best definition of hallucination would be. If I know somebody having a hallucination, they're looking for something. So I'm thinking if they're having a false illusion about something that's not really there.
That's not an illusion. Illusion is what? Illusion is
something that's there, but it's all fucked up by the time you're done with it.
an illusion.
Okay.
The clock is really there.
Right.
But then it becomes bizarre.
They start moving.
The hands of time are reaching out to get me or something like that. So remember, hallucinations, false perception. Illusion, it's really there. Cool, come on. An illusion, it's really there, but by the time the brain gets done with it, it becomes a very bizarre experience for that person. That's the difference with that. That's the difference with that. We are down to number 4 right now. I want you to write these down. All right, number 1A, 2B. Cool. 3A, and 4C. And 4C. Cool. We're going to get you caught up real quick, too. Come on in as we're going over this. we're going over these right now. We're down to 4. And so, just to make sure, check yourself. 1A, 2B, 3A, 4C. Are there any questions with any of these, you guys? Now, if you got the wrong answer, make sure you know why, what is the right answer. That's the important thing with this. I don't give a shit about a number on the top of a piece of paper. I care about, do you know the stuff? Does that make sense? Because if you don't know the stuff, the number don't matter anyway. Hey, number 5. It should be assumed that every client coming into drug treatment, AODA drug, is depressed and should be given SSRI med as a standard protocol since they usually present with sadness, frustration, anxiety, and mixed motivational status.
B.
B. No. Don't you dare do that. You're absolutely right. B. Don't you dare do that. Fear of abandonment, self-mutilation, risk-taking behaviors, extreme labile affect would best represent what?
B.
Borderline personality. Who's doing pretty good with this? Doing pretty good with this. Hey,
What's labile effect mean?
Labile is all over the place. In other words, a sudden change in mood without apparent good reason. In other words, let's say, stick with me. Labile. In other words, a sudden change in mood without apparent good reason. In other words, if we're talking and you're in a good mood, and then I say, oh, by the way, I just saw your dog got run over. I just looked at, and you're in a bad mood. That's not labile, that's normal. But labile would be where a change in mood without good apparent reason. Does that make sense? Labile affect. In other words, it's moving around without good reason. At least apparently good reason. That kind of a thing like that. If that's the case, and you don't see apparently good reason, before you start to talk about labile affect, you're going to do what? You're going to ask the client, I noticed your mood just changed here. Remember, what is it? I notice, I wonder. We're talking, you're in a good mood, suddenly you're in a bad mood. Oh, labile affect? Not yet. Check it out. I noticed that you suddenly became, you see what I'm saying? Maybe it turns out there was a good reason. Maybe the very thing you just said was a powerful classical conditioned thing for that individual. Or something, the question you just asked just provoked a powerful, very sad, bad memory or something like that. And so just because you don't see an apparent reason for the sudden mood change doesn't in and of itself make it diagnosable. Check it out. There could be a reason anyway, just because it's not apparent. Before you start writing, because gang, what did we say throughout this entire section? Talking about what? Don't be using a bunch of fancy schmancy diagnostic terms until you know what the hell you're talking about and is that accurate. Because don't forget, once again, labile affect. That can mean a lot. Here I am in Kalamazoo, Michigan, reading your record now. You just moved over here, and labile affect. Well, that's important to know. You see what I'm saying? So if you notice something like that, before you write that down, check it out. Maybe you don't see a good reason for the mood change, but there was after all. Does that make sense, you guys? Basic counseling 101 with this stuff. How you use this stuff. How you do this. All this stuff put together. All right, everybody cool with that? Any questions with that? All right. Number 7, the presence of the pseudo-community would indicate a diagnosis of paranoid personality disorder. True or false?
True.
False.
What?
I knew it. I knew that it was because it's schizophrenia, not paranoia.
Remember. When we looked at the personality disorders, remember I said I hate that word.
Yeah.
We should have called that what? Don't trust people personality disorder.
Right.
I said we already have a paranoid something. Paranoid what?
Schizophrenia.
Paranoid schizophrenia. Paranoid schizophrenia. And that's where we would see that stuff. Gang, that personality disorder, Yeah, and it's too bad. They shouldn't have called it paranoid personality disorder. They should have called it don't trust people personality disorder. Yeah, this is the person. They're suspicious. They don't trust. You got a nice outfit. Yeah, what do you want now? That kind of a thing. What did you really mean with that? Why this? Why that kind of a paranoid schizophrenia is where you would see those delusions of persecution and things like that. Paranoid, unfortunate verbiage, personality disorder is the person, they're suspicious. They don't trust people. There's a real. Remember we talked about that big difference with that. Is everybody cool? Is everybody cool? All right. Everybody good with hallucination, delusion, illusion? And all those other things we talked about with schizophrenia and psychosis in general. Any questions with, hey, beyond just this, any questions about any of this stuff? If you're missing an answer right now, are you getting it? Do you understand how and why you missed it and what is the correct answer? You're getting it. Everybody cool? Yes.
Can you explain the pseudo-community again?
Pseudo-community, they, them. In other words, I got to watch out for them because they are doing this and they are following. Who are you talking about? They can't point and say that specific because the not real, pseudo, not real community of persecutors. They exist only in this person's. Again, delusions of persecution. Does that make sense? The pseudo or not real community of persecutors. The pseudo community. That makes sense? Everybody cool? Other questions? Anybody? Anything else? All right, cool. Good. Anhedonia and psychomotor retardation were identified in class as important indications of organic depression. What did you have? What did you put? Organic depression, you guys. Remember, when we looked at depression, we had a lot of stuff going on, didn't we? First, the difference between organic and functional. Can a person look completely textbook depressed and not have the disease of depression? And yes, we looked at that. Hey, do you know that person? They have just, in the course of whatever life, and they have just learned how to have a very negative, pessimistic, dour, unhappy perspective on self, the world, life in general, and things like that. You see what I'm saying? But it's not, they don't have the disease of depression. This is a tough one, you guys, because remember, it does matter, organic versus functional here. It does matter. Why? It's not just what words you use. It matters because what you say there, organic versus functional, is going to be directly related to the treatment approach. In other words, you're not going to talk somebody out of organic depression. They're going to need meds. And again, I wish we had better meds. But at least the best we've got. You're not going to talk a person out of organic, the disease of depression, any more than you're going to talk them out of schizophrenia. They have a disease and they need whatever medicine we have. However, on the other side, that learned in just negative pessimism, said that functional depression, that whole thing, meds they're not going to change this person's well-developed negative cognitive negotiation style. Does that make sense? They're going to need counseling. And all the meds in the world, what did we say? Just like, hey, at the end of the learning theory stuff, what was that very last thing I said? Never forget this. And what was that? Ritalin will not treat variable ratio reinforcement. Little Johnny in that story, if you remember that, little Johnny didn't have a disease. Little Johnny was a well-taught monster. Little Johnny learned how to be the way he is. And Ritalin's not going to treat that. Well, in the same light then, in the same way, these antidepressant meds are not going to help well-developed thought patterns that are just so very negative. It's not like, well, just, we're going to scrape the back of your throat and look in the microscope. This will tell us if you got bipolar 1 or bipolar 2 or dysthymia. No, we don't have that, you guys. This is another one of those very fine lines of stuff and it's just your best utilization of your assessment, your information, and your judgment with this stuff. Does that make sense? You rule out any other possible explanation. Remember that rule out. When it comes to assessment, diagnosis, nothing is more important than those two words. Rule out. What was that? Somebody tell me what rule out means.
Make sure it's not something else first.
Rule out any other possible reason why you're seeing this right now. Is it this? Is it that? Is it this? Is it that? Is it this? You see what I'm saying? That kind of a thing. So anyway, any questions with that? This is so very important, you guys. This is so very, very, very important. Everybody cool? Well, we already talked. Hey, the most common hallucination, auditory. Obsessive compulsive agoraphobia, hypochondriasis, and social phobia are all examples of what?
Anxiety.
Anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorders. Are there any questions with that? And I want to revisit real quick because it was so very important. And again, agoraphobia and hypochondriasis, you guys, they're much more common, yet just not really attended to issues in addiction. And remember, what is agoraphobia?
When you're like afraid to leave your house.
Agoraphobia, they would afraid of open spaces. Agoraphobia, afraid of large crowds. The gang, basically, agoraphobia is fear of the fear. Fear of the fear. In other words, this person, they have this. Yeah, whether it's hey, one day they're at the Walmart at Christmas time and the people are all over and the lines are 2.5 miles long and those lights are coming on and we need help on aisle 3 and all this stuff, and that person's sitting there and all of a sudden they have an itty bitty little mini panic attack. Oh shit, oh no. No more of this. I'm not doing any more of this shopping. I'm done with that shit, you know. One day they're at the kids' big game. And all the people are howling and screaming and jumping up and doing this, and everybody's having fun and watching the big game. And this person has a little bit of a panic thing, and that's it. No more of that. Can't sit around all those people like that. This fear, agoraphobia, fear of fear. Fear of the fear. This feeling, this is going to happen. I'm going to be there. I'm going to go there. And this is going to happen. It's this sense of this impending fear. And there's going to be being attracted to drugs or alcohol in the first place. You see what I'm saying with that? Just controlling that following me everywhere, fear, that kind of a thing. It could be that. Another thing we see with agoraphobia. And guys, this is what you got to. I want you to listen to this very, very carefully. Oh, your life is full of, you got to watch out for old playgrounds and playmates. And this is a danger, and that's a danger, and this is a danger, and this is a danger. You know what I'm saying with this? Oh, don't fall. Oh, don't this. First, get a plant and see if you can raise that plant for a year. Then get a pet and see if you can go without killing that for a year. And then maybe you can have a relation. And watch out for this one. That person, they walk out of treatment, it's like they're terrified. Everything they do. A good feeling, a bad feeling. They're attracted to somebody. They're this, they're that. Everything's like, oh shit, I'm on relapse. They become afraid. They become terrified of life. Everything in life is going to be, that means, oh, I'm going back to addiction. Oh, I'm about to relapse. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, would it go like if you're walking down a dark street, let's say you're walking down the street, you always feel like somebody's watching you.
Right.
Looking at you all the time.
Well, that would depend on severity and context and things like that. That could be a lot of things, including just somebody who's careful about walking down dark streets by themselves. It could be a lot of other things too. But what I'm talking about here is just, it's this fear of fear. I'm going to be in that situation and bad things are going to happen. You see what I'm saying with that?
So how do you differentiate that between that and the avoidant personality disorder?
Good question. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. But the thing is this, you guys, if that person is that terrified of life after recovery, you see what I'm saying with that? And again, this means I'm in high risk. Oh no, this means I'm about to, oh no, this means that. Oh no, this means, and that kind of a thing, you guys. And you've got to watch that. You've got to help this client get a rational, well-centered sense of self and their relationship with life with this stuff. Do you hear what I'm saying? A lot of people, a lot of these relapses. And again, you're sitting there. Everything seemed to be going pretty good. How come? And very often, I don't know. I don't know what the hell happened or something like that. And very often what it was that person just got enough was enough, overwhelmed with. They were so damn, again, they were afraid to leave their house. They were afraid to do this. They were afraid to do that. Does that make sense? And enough is enough. And they got, at some point, they just got a good case of the fuckets. Do you see what I'm saying with it? It wasn't a major thing. It really wasn't some major thing that happened or something like that. And that person, they're going to sit there and say, I don't know what happened. I don't know. Oh, well, you know what that means. That means you weren't ready. You weren't serious about this anyway. I will hunt you down. No, it doesn't mean that. It means you, the counselor, did not recognize this agoraphobic thing going on with this client. Does that make sense? And address it. Guys, these are the reasons why this stuff, you guys are going to know this. You're going to walk out there and your client is going to have the benefit of you knowing this. Does that make sense? Your client's going to have the benefit of that. And so when you start to see that, what are you going to do? You're going to focus. You help this person, help them find themselves, center themselves, rational, the ability to be able to take healthy risk and do those kinds of things. Does that make sense? If you don't see this, if you don't recognize this, if you don't address this, again, that's that client sitting there. How come you relapse? I don't know. I really don't know. And very often, gang, what it is this what I'm talking about right now. It wasn't fun. I mean, guys, think about this for a minute. Relapse is damn hard, scary ass work. Or excuse me, recovery is damn hard, scary ass work. If you want that person to work that hard at it, it's got to be worth it someplace, doesn't it? That's just basic law of human behavior. And for that person, they're afraid of this, they're afraid of that, they're afraid of this, they're afraid of that. Well, I got to you see what I'm saying? That's not very much fun. At some point, fuck it. Enough becomes enough. And it wasn't one major thing that happened. It was, I don't know what happened. I really don't. I don't get it. I thought it was doing okay. I really wanted this. And you see what I'm saying? And you're going to have that situation. And you're going to sit there and think, well, you fucker, you weren't ready. You weren't. No, that's not it. That's not it. As this person became overwhelmed with this agoraphobic-like terror in their early recovery. Does that make sense? And then, any questions with that? Do you hear? Who's a better counselor right now because we just talked about this specific thing? That's what this is all about, you guys. I don't care about a number on top of a piece of paper. Are you going to one day, is somebody's life going to be better off because we just talked about this? Does that make sense? That's what matters to me. Somebody's life is going to be better off because now, today, you're walking out of here with this. That's what matters to me with this. Yes?
Can you tell me the difference between a false perception and a false illusion?
A false illusion? A false perception. First of all, there's no such thing as a false illusion. An illusion is where, once again, a false perception, that's a hallucination, where you're perceiving something when there's nothing there. Again, seeing things, feeling things, hearing things, smelling things, tasting things, that's not there. Hallucination. An illusion is that there's something really there. But by the time your brain gets done with it, it becomes a bizarre experience.
Got it.
Okay? Does that make sense? All right? So every illusion is a false interpretation of reality. Does that make sense? Everybody cool with that? Any questions about this agoraphobia stuff? And why? And so you have to be, when you're, especially, how's it going? Oh, okay, I guess. What's up? You know what I mean? What's up? And again, everybody can have a day where just life is just okay, I guess. Yeah, it's not that you've got to make a big deal about every single damn thing all the time. Yeah, we all have it's okay, I guess, kind of a day, don't we? So it's not necessarily, but if you're starting to see a theme with your client with this, what's going on here? I notice, I wonder. Again, I notice, I wonder with this. And so this agoraphobia thing is big, big, big. It's a major, 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 and it's that one where what happened? I don't know what happened. I don't know. I don't get it. I thought things were good. I don't know. I thought nothing big happened. Huh?
Can you give me a simple definition of the agoraphobia?
Again, agoraphobia is just that fear of fear.
Just fear of fear.
Fear of fear. That is so important, you guys. You need to remember this. Never put this in your head. This right now, what we just spent this time talking about. Never forget this. And someday, somebody's life is going to be better because you remember this. Does that make sense? Somebody's life is going to be better because you remember what we're talking about this very second right now.
So the client just have a fear of
again,
doing better. They don't think that they can do it, or
it's just fear of fear.
Fear of everything.
Again, classic agoraphobia. I'm at the checkout counter or in that big mess all over the place, and I have a little bit of maybe indigestion or something. Oh shit, no more of this. I can't do this. Hey, I'm at the big game for the kid, and in the bleachers, and everybody's hollering, screaming. I can't do this. They start to avoid. And again, hey, not only housebound, sometimes even roombound. And again, for recovery. And again, you watch out for this, watch out for that, watch out for this, be careful of this. That means you're relapsed. Oh, that means, oh no this, oh no that. You see what I'm saying? Oh, so you like her, huh? You know what that means? That means there's too early for that. That means you're about to fuck up. You realize that. You see what I'm saying? That person walks out of treatment. They're walking on micro thin ice, and they're afraid of every step. Oh, if I do this, if that happens, if I do this, if that happens. The best thing is fuck that. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what happened. Be aware of that. Be ready to identify that, you guys. It's a big. And usually this is the one where, once again, what happened? I don't know what happened. And that's where the idiot counselor, that's where they're going to, well, that means that you weren't serious about this in the first place. You were full of shit. You were just blowing smoke and you didn't care. That doesn't mean that necessarily, you guys. What it means is you, the counselor, didn't do your job well. That's what it means. Do you hear what I'm saying? Stop blaming that client for everything.
So you keep digging to try to find out if
you keep paying attention.
Yeah, that's what
I'm saying. Now don't dig. I mean,
dig.
Like I say, everybody can have. I mean, one day the client sits down. How's it going? I'm fine, I guess. Well, we all have an oh fine, I guess day once in a while. Don't run with that, right away. But check it out.
Conversation up with them.
Check it out. What's going on? I notice. I wonder. That kind of a thing. Check it out. Look at it. Be aware of it. Hypochondriasis. What was that? What did I call that? Hypochondriasis. What did I call that, you guys, on Friday?
Searching for the unknowable or something like that.
It was that what? That eternal search for non-solution. Hypochondria. What do you think this is? What is this? What is this? Oh no, I think I'm dying. Oh no, I got this disease. That kind of. This is the person, once again, you guys. They can't watch the doctor's show on Thursday night. By Friday morning, they're dying of all the same diseases. You know what I'm saying? That kind of, what do you think this is? And that. But here's the thing, you guys. Yeah, they're scared to death of this and that and everything else. Oh, they're dying of all this stuff. But they go to the, can a person be worried about that? Can a person be over worried about that? Can they even have a germ phobia, a cancer phobia, a dying phobia? The thing is though, when they go to the doctor and the doctor says, you're fine, you're okay, they're going to say what? Thank you, doctor, thank you. Oh, you're the greatest. That's what I mean, a person with they were worried about their health. Yeah, you're great, doctor, thank you. They may be back tomorrow with another new disease they're dying of, but right now, thank you, doctor, you're the greatest.
So what do you call that person?
Well, they could have an obsessive compulsive thing with just a specific disease or a germ phobia, a cancer phobia, a dying phobia, or something like that. But the difference between that and who we're talking about now is, for them, when the doctor says you're okay, what do they say to the doctor? You're full of shit, you're a quack, you don't know, you don't care. Because, gang, the whole point of this for that person is what? The whole point of this is what? That they are being filled with this, again, this ongoing, completely undefined, this sense of dread, panic, sense of bad inside them. And remember, obsessive compulsive disorder, what was that? I get filled with this dread and then I do something. And that relieves it for just a little bit, but then it comes back and I got to do it again. Then it comes back and I got to do it again. That's obsessive compulsive disorder, right? What this is this person's way of dealing with all that pressure, tension, is to worry about something else. And for them, what do they worry about? Their health. That's their way of dealing with all this pressure, tension, and everything. You see what I'm saying? And so when the doctor says, you're fine, you're healthy, what did the doctor just do? They just ruined their way of dealing with all that shit they don't know how to deal with.
So basically, focus on something you can control, you can't control.
Well, yeah, and for this person, and they're feeling that sense of, it's just like with any obsessive compulsive disorder, filled with that tension, do whatever your thing is. And it relieves it for just a little bit, and then it comes, you got to do it again. That's obsessive compulsive disorder. For this person, how they have learned how to deal with all that tension and pressure is to worry about something else, their health. You see what I'm saying? That's how they deal with whatever this is. Yeah, hypochondriasis is a very complex obsessive compulsive disorder. Obsessive compulsive disorder is a very complex anxiety disorder. You see what I'm saying with this? And so, when we see that, and that person, they will go to great lengths to protect their illness, their disease. And again, I'm doctor shopping not to get somebody to give me drugs. I'm doctor shopping to get somebody to give me my disease back. You asshole, you stole my disease. You told me I'm fine. How dare you did that? You see what I'm saying? And so, yeah. And then we talked about, gang, psychochondria. What is that? Well, this is the person, it's not a physical ailment they're worried about, it's a mental illness they're worried about. And how did that get linked up with early recovery again? This idea. And this is actually not even early recovery as much as midterm recovery sometimes. Think about this for a minute, you guys. Again, that we're talking about this today. You remember this discussion right now. Someday somebody's life is going to be better because you're remembering what I'm talking about right now. You hear what I'm saying? I'm serious about this. And what is that? Midterm, maybe. You know, I've got 6 months under my belt. I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm going 9 months. Going on a year. Life is going pretty good. You know what? Haven't touched a drop. Haven't used a drug. Haven't this or that. Getting things put back together in my life. It's feeling pretty good. I'm loving this. And at some point, that person, and it's not that every person goes through this, you guys, but it's a very, very important dynamic if the client does go through this. It's your ability to see this, recognize this, and be ready to respond to it. And again, at some point, that person, their life is going so good, and they start to look back, and they look back at their addiction. They look back at what they did. They look back at what they... I can't believe I did that shit. I can't. How the fuck did I ever? You see what I'm saying? What was wrong with me? How the hell did I? What was wrong with me? And sometimes, you know, and maybe this is where somebody, you know, well, I mean, look at it for a minute. Life is time this and that. Maybe somebody just, well, you're just fucking up. And maybe that's good enough for somebody. But how about for that person that's not good enough? And they keep thinking, what was wrong with me? They need to find an answer to that question. How could I have put myself in that position in my life? How could I have done those things? How could I have this? How could I have that? I did this, I did that, I did these awful things. I look at the prices, I did all the, I lied, I cheated, I stealed, I hurt people, I this, I that, and everything else. And they start to become consumed with what was wrong with me. And then they need to find an answer to that question. And why? Because if they can't find an answer to the question about what was wrong with me that I did this in the first place, what does that make that person start to become afraid of?
What stops me from doing it again?
What if it comes back and I do that stuff again? That, gang, can be a very consuming thing for some people. They need to find a mental disorder to explain to themselves why they did this crazy shit in the first place. Does that make sense? And they will find one. The problem with that is, pretty soon, a year down the road is not really long recovery, is it? Not really. And all this energy they should be putting into the recovery program now gets shifted over to what? Their new mental disease. Looking for and having their new mental disorder. Well, it's not new. They had it the whole time. That's why they did all this crazy shit in the first place. But you see what I'm saying with this, you guys? Hey, there's not one page in one book in this entire world in addiction that just will tell you what I'm telling you right now. You hear what I'm saying? That's why you need to be in class. There's not one page in one addiction book in this entire country, this world, that's going to tell you what I'm telling you right now. This is what you need to know as a drug counselor, alcohol counselor. And you remember this. You remember what we're talking about right now. Someday, somebody's life is going to be better because you remember what we're talking about right now. Does that make sense? I'm serious about this, you guys. Because you need to address that. You need to put that on the table. And help that client find a rational, centered, and maybe, you know what, what was something I've always said? Never give a person a disease, a disorder, a problem they don't need to have, and that kind of stuff. Help them find a rational, centered answer to that question before they ruin their lives trying to find that answer on them own. Because once they find that answer, they're going to invest all their energy into their disorder. Why? I got to have control of this because look at what I'll do again if I don't. And they're terrified of that. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Once again, the very thing they're doing will probably promote the very thing they're most afraid of, but they don't see it that way. You see what I'm saying? They really think that I got to spend all this energy now on my disorder because that's what made me do all that crazy shit in the first place. If it comes back, I got to watch it. And guess what? They spend so much time on their new disorder, their old and new disorder, that what? They stop focusing on their recovery and they end up having the very problem and doing the stuff again that they were so afraid of. Do you hear it? Do you hear all this work, guy? Do you hear these dynamics with this? This is what understanding aberrant human behavior is all about. This is what being a good counselor is all about. Seeing this stuff. Do you see what I'm saying with this?
Isn't it kind of somewhat counterintuitive, though? Because, like, if I'm making up a mental disorder to explain why I did what I did, but now I have a built-in excuse to do it again.
It's very dangerous. It's toxic. That's why you have to, as a counselor, be aware of that and get on top of that with that client. It can be toxic in lots of ways. And you're right. Yes. Again, gang, why doesn't that client see that? For the same reason why they don't see that what they think they're getting for the use in the first place isn't worth it. For the same reason why that personality disorder person doesn't see that it's not really worth it. That brain gets focused and centered on a way to protect itself and it feels good about that. It's going to zero in on that no matter what it is. That's just how the brain works. You guys hear what I'm saying with this? Do you get what I'm saying with this? This is a better counselor right now than they were 25 minutes ago. Because of this. Never forget this. Oh, by the way, there won't be one damn word about what we just talked about on any state certification exam or anything else. Which is one of the reasons why we think we're big shots at 18 to 20% success. Do you hear what I'm saying with this, you guys? Never forget what we just talked about, both agoraphobia and hypochondriasis. They're both so very dreadfully important. Does that make sense? And your ability to see this and recognize this with this client and work with that. So very important. Cool? Okay, everybody who has checked in to class this morning on that thing, I'm going to give you full credit for today's quiz. If you have any questions, you had better make sure and get them out there, you guys, because you know what? That's how. Everything I'm talking about right now, I want you guys to go out there and be good in people's lives. That's what matters to me. Does that make sense? And that's your responsibility. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah, and on the 8th, I think we went into somatoform disorders. We had that on the category for the disorders, and then you gave us examples. And hypochondriasis was one of them.
Right, hypochondriasis.
Hypochondriasis, but then we went into psychochondriasis, and then you defined that as mental emotional disorder.
No, I didn't define it as mental emotional disorder. I defined it as, and that's, remember, what did I say? That's one of my conceptual neologisms, first of all. You're not going to find it on the net.
Right.
But, no, psychochondriasis is a
behavior. Different. It's different from
psychochondriasis is just a psychological example of hypochondriasis. Hypochondriasis, I'm worried about my body. Okay. Psychochondriasis, I'm worried about my mind. Both the same dynamics, though. Does that make sense? With hypochondriasis, oh, I got this pain. Oh, I got this. Oh, no, what do you think this is? Oh, I'm going to die from this. Oh, no, this is... With psychochondriasis, what is that? Where instead of a body disease, and what do I talk about? Psychochondriasis. It's the same dynamics, that eternal search for non-solution, but it's about how my mind is working. I have this disorder, I have that disorder. Oh no, do you see what I'm saying? That kind of a thing. So psychochondriasis is basically, hypochondriasis, think of that, it's about the body. Psychochondriasis about the mind. Does that make sense? And then it's the same dynamics and the same stuff. Again, this eternal search for non-solution. Why? I mean, it's just the same thing. If a psychiatrist were to say you don't have this, you would be mad at that psychiatrist. What the? Now you just ruined my fucking way of dealing with this. Just like if the doctor said, we did every test. Remember that story I told you guys, hypochondriasis, that woman, that very, very true story. Her life was damn near destroyed because nobody understood it. Nobody saw it. What was the ultimate end of that story? It was easier for her to believe she was dying of cancer than to deal with turning 40. Remember that story? Look at the extent, the ends to which she went. She almost destroyed her entire life. The minute she got that false pap smear, that false positive pap smear, and that was all she needed. I got cancer. I'm dying of cancer. Cancer. Pretty soon, every damn hair on her body had cancer. I mean, it got crazy. It got nuts, insane. Nobody recognized. They were about to do electroshock therapy on her. So, again, hypochondriasis. And then, when I talk about psychochondriasis, and that's one of your teacher's conceptual neologisms. That's what you get for having a lunatic for a teacher. But what do I mean? Well, hypochondriasis is about the body. Psychochondriasis is about the mind. Same dynamic, same stuff, but body, mind. Everybody cool? See you in a few.